Okay.
United Kingdom is one of the few nations on Earth where they want 16-year-olds to vote. And 16-year-olds can also participate in the military. So, in other words, society understands that these people are intelligent enough to make their own decisions, especially on things that influence the nation state. However, they are not intelligent enough to go on social media and read about Donald Trump. You see, this is the actual problem that's happening in the UK. The government even has what they like to call a nudging department. So the nudging department is when, you know, despite the fact that Britain is a democracy, like sometimes people think incorrectly. And they need a little bit of nudge. They need a little bit of incentive in order to think the correct things about global warming, about immigration, about COVID. And so they want to actually control not just what their own people do, but also what their own people think. And they were absolutely horrified when Brexit happened. They were absolutely horrified when they saw that Donald Trump managed to win the election in the United States. Because despite the fact that the leftist governments controlled all of the mainstream media, like back then you turned on the television and you'd only hear left-leaning narratives, people went online, they went on various forums, they talked to each other, and they came up with different conclusions than what the government managed to push. And so that is extremely dangerous for their democracy. This is why the United Kingdom right now is trying to go after 4chan. Like, notice, they're not actually geo-blocking 4chan from the UK, which they could do. Instead, what they're doing is they're trying to sue 4chan in order to cripple them financially or to scare them into compliance. And this is why they created Ofcom, which is basically a massive censorship apparatus that gets to decide what is and isn't allowed to be on the internet. Now, initially, they said it's about pornography, but when you actually look at what it's doing, it also censored things that have to do with immigration. It also censored sensitive content. And so they generally want teenagers to be indoctrinated by the school system, mainstream media, the television. And there are British politicians that said exactly this. There was a British politician that was asked on GB News, if you want 16 years old to vote and they can't go online, like how are they going to make that decision? And he literally said, well, they can watch the BBC. They can watch The Guardian. And so this is one of the main reasons that they don't want people under 16 to go on social media. The other reason is obviously control. If you're required to show an ID every single time you go online, then what that means is that the government now has the possibility of simply blocking your ID. So you haven't really committed any crime, but because, you know, you have wrong things, they can simply Nigel Farage you. Like this happened to a British politician, Nigel Farage. All of a sudden he got debanked. And when he looked into it, why he got debanked, it wasn't because he did anything illegal. It wasn't because like he was a risk factor, like he was a liability when it came with his cash. It was simply because of his politics regarding Brexit. And so activists pressured the banks behind closed doors in order to deplatform him. Now again, the infrastructure of mass censorship didn't exist, but like imagine what would happen if the government or the activists would simply decide that you're a dangerous person, your ID stops working, and all of a sudden you cannot make or access social media accounts. So in other words, you're not really banned from Twitch, you're not really banned from X.
But you're
the platform would
depowered.
allow you to create an account, but when you're using your ID as a British person in order to sign up, they simply say that your ID is rejected. It also gives a lot of power to the corporations that do the robust age verification. As we know, there aren't that many companies that can do that, and they're very expensive. It usually charges something like $2 per verification. And so if you have 100,000 people verifying and using a social media platform, you can just make the calculation and you can see like how much do these robust age verification companies make. But they also have a lot of power. There is absolutely no law forcing them to work with a social media platform. And since there are so few, imagine if all of these 4 robust age verification companies would basically say, we don't want to work with X anymore because X hosts problematic content. So in other words, X doesn't do anything illegal, Ofcom doesn't go after them, no government is upset, but this is just like private companies doing what private companies do. And they just decide, okay, well, we're now going to provide our service for the platform X, and because X cannot now robustly verify and make sure that the people accessing their websites are the teenagers, they're in violation of Ofcom. And so notice how they are creating another bottleneck, which again can be used in order to crack down on companies that simply go against the status quo. This may not happen this year, this may not happen in 5 years, but like 15 years down the line, there is absolutely no guarantee, no law that what I'm saying right now cannot happen. Also, private companies, they benefit as well. Companies like Facebook, the dead internet theory is actually real. A lot of YouTube videos that talk about it immediately get flagged as a conspiracy theory, which is very weird. You know, like there are a lot of hypotheses going around out there. Why isn't this particular one so damaging? Well, the reality is that the internet may not be dead, right? Like, it's a little bit of an exaggeration, it's a hyperbole. But the reality is you literally cannot tell nowadays what is something that a human made versus what is something that an AI made. When you look at a username, you do not know if it's a real person behind the screen. Now, this affects advertisers a lot because advertisers pay money for their brand to be advertised to people. And if their brand gets advertised to bots and is discovered, social media companies are a big liability. And so, by robustly verifying every single person that goes there, they make sure that the individual is actually a human being and not a bot. Obviously, they don't care about children because children cannot be advertised to due to various regulations in the United States. You can't harvest their data, you can't target advertise them, so Facebook doesn't view them as people. And so this is why the government is so obsessed with keeping children off of social media. There are various competing interests from people that actually own or have stock in the robust age verification companies, from political parties that have an interest of being the only source of information for the young generation, as well as, you know, various religious organizations and moral busybodies, including Muslims, certain brands of Christians that genuinely view pornography being evil, and they are being bamboozled by this new type of law. Now, the interesting question is, why are they rushing it? And as you notice here, the Lords in the United Kingdom is trying to push Keir Starmer to go fast. Now, it's interesting because these types of laws actually require a lot of things. If you quote-unquote go faster, you risk running into privacy issues. The European Union recently released an app which was supposed to be like a digital wallet, but it got hacked even before it was released to the public. And this is one of the biggest problems with this type of system. If you have to use your actual data, your actual ID in order to log on to a database, if that database manages to get hacked, your entire identity is stolen. And so, if you create a system without the safety function in mind, then if you force an entire nation of people to use that system, well, you can end up with huge lawsuits and you can end up with huge economic and social disruptions. Not that the people that are pushing for this actually care. But if the current system that's already implemented in the United Kingdom starts actually settling in and people actually understand what they have traded in exchange for quote-unquote safety, the argument that we're doing this to protect the children may not work in the future, because once the children become 16 and they're going to be able to vote, they will realize that, hold on a little bit, like, the system didn't protect me at all from going on social media. Like, I already went there, my friends went there, we actually know how to bypass all of the safety guards. And so the system is not designed to actually keep us safe. But my mother or someone that I know did have their information stolen. Or someone that I know actually posted something racist online and they got arrested. The system is actually designed in order to make sure that no new websites pop up. You know, the forum that I used to like browsing when I was a kid is now shut down because it can't afford the huge costs in order to do the robust age verification. Someone that I know actually had its identity stolen and now has problems with the banks and shit. And so, like, this is a bad idea. And the appetite of the public will actually start dying down once a lot of the elderly people with a boomer mindset die, and a lot of young people with a fresh new mindset that actually understand how the internet works manage to vote. It could scare politicians, it could swing polls. And so this is why they're absolutely desperate in order to pass this under Keir Starmer as fast as possible before a new government comes in. Right? So, like, the whole rushing thing isn't that there is now a huge danger on the internet that didn't exist before, and we need to stop, teenagers going online as fast as possible. No, the actual danger is that, well, teenagers may actually start being able to vote, and they may say, well, hold on a little bit, we were supposed to be the beneficiaries of this law. In fact, we were actually the victims. Now, you have, like, certain people from England that have, like, this type of mentality, which, honestly, as an Eastern European, I do not understand it. It baffles my brain. But he is saying that he is glad this is happening. Things need to be a bit more ridiculous before the average person finally understands that our democracy is fake and that we are simply bluffed and bullshitted into things by the spin class. This is not protecting kids, blah, blah, blah. But this is the thing that I'm noticing, right? I'm glad that this is happening. And I've seen the mentality a lot. Like, I'm glad it's happening because soon people will wake up. My question is, like, when exactly do people wake up? Because I've been waiting for that for 20 years. And people do not wake up. Like, it's a lot easier to make the statement that people don't wake up than to say that people do wake up, right? Like, if you go in front of a betting house right now, and you were to actually put your money on it, will people wake up? Which one do you think is the winning ticket? Because I don't think people wake up. You know what I think happens? I think authoritarianism is an extremely stable system if done properly. Look at China. Do people wake up in China? Do people woke up in the Soviet Union? Now, don't get me wrong, like, eventually, sure, like, eventually people do wake up, like, and it's not like necessarily that people wake up because they go on the street and take their country back, like, apparently they did in Hungary. No, it's because, like, these types of systems are extremely expensive to maintain. Like, all of these systems require a very wealthy nation with a government that taxes people a lot in order to maintain the authoritarianism. And so, when the government invests a lot of money into thought policing citizens, they end up not actually investing money in the proper economy, like the things that actually create and generate wealth. And so over time, the system collapses, not because, like, people have a moral awakening, but simply because the government cannot keep funding and continuing the system. The problem is that by that time, we could probably be dead. I mean, look at Maoist China, right? Like, how long ago was that? If you're a person that caught, like, the Great Leap Forward and managed to survive, you realize that even today, China is not a free society. And by free, I would mean like how America used to be in the 90s. You will not manage to just simply obtain freedom by, quote-unquote, people waking up. What you will have is the same system that will remind that. I mean, it's absurd to think that the government will invest so much money into a mass surveillance infrastructure only to then say, oh, I mean, well, people are now don't like it, so we're going to pull it back. No, the reality is that accelerationism is an interesting theory, that if you run your car really fast into a wall, then your car can break through. In some cases it can, but in overwhelmingly amount of cases, the wall wins. 9 out of 10 times, the wall wins. And so you end up with the surveillance apparatus. Now, look at the current situation, right? Like in the United Kingdom right now, you actually have to verify your identity when going on to various websites. How many people are upset about it? How many people are outraged? In fact, there are people supporting it, you know, and the support is even coming from places that you wouldn't expect. Like, for example, Academic Agent. Sarkar of Akkad, you know, doesn't agree with the implementation, because I listened to the Lotus Eaters. He doesn't agree with the way it's implemented, but the morality of the thing where the government is the daddy, and the daddy gets to tell Sargon the child how he should police his children, is something that is morally respectable in the United Kingdom. And so, no, I do not think that people will rise up. I do not think that people will have a mortal awakening. I think people will
Oh, wait
just
a minute.
become
I'm looking at the wrong thing.
Let me know what you guys think, though. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.
Oh, I was supposed to fucking go over to this. Okay, it's fine. I actually am fine. So I want to put Blue Beetle on here. I forgot I saved the second preset for her. Oh wait, arcade tuning is... Yeah, it's pretty much the same. Switch to 4. This is not gonna do... I don't have that new one, man. And I need to go figure out where you get... Where do you get it? That's what I need to look into, like, right now. So I didn't even know there was a new one. Is it trigger mod? Trigger. Firearm cooling. Gash, there it is. Where do you get this? Spoils box. Can I see where? Axion Planes. Legion Lab. I haven't gotten a single one of these. Huh? Ain't no way. Unless this is something I haven't done? Hang on. Legion Laboratory is... I'm assuming it's one of these, right? Oh my god, the newest one. I've never gotten one. No. They must have just added that. That's not possible. They definitely just added that. Skill cost, skill... Oh my god, I'm on the wrong reactor. Hang on. Fusion, skill, yeah. I forgot I put the wrong fucking subclass on. The wrong preset. So now it's showing 11K. All of this is maxed out. I have the correct thing. Let's see what we got. Crit rate is high. Crit dam is really high. Cooldown. MP. I really don't like how low my HP is, but I don't know where I could fit more on. And I already have HP tacked on because of this. Oh. I have the dog on. 4. Save current. When I become sure that I'm not gonna run Absolute Zero anymore, maybe then I'll erase that preset and put it for somebody else. Maybe the low HP isn't really that big of a problem, but it kind of spooks me a little bit. And I have the absolute best thing to address that right here. Just kind of wish this number was higher.
Hey guys, First Regardsman here, and today I'm going to be talking about Space Marine 2's Patch 13, the suspected release date, the updated roadmap, and the future of the game, and even Space Marine 3. We'll also be talking about the Voice Pack DLC controversy resolution, new cosmetics in Patch 13, alongside some new heroic weapon leaks, and info on the brand new weapon and equipment for the upcoming patch. The Tech Marine update has been out for almost 2 months now, which does mean we should be rapidly approaching the release of a public test server and full Patch 13. Focus already said they were aiming for an April or May release date, but considering we were are already in mid-April, it is highly unlikely that we're going to be getting anything beyond a public test server before May. Most Space Marine 2 patch releases usually follow a 2 to 3 month gap, with a public test server around a month prior to the official patch launch. We have no date on the public test server yet, however, or if we're even getting one for this patch. There is some interesting stuff going on behind the scenes for this game at the moment as well, because we are getting an updated roadmap later this month that is supposed to have some major changes to the current planned updates for Space Marine 2. Nobody was really expecting major siege changes before patch 15 with the new map originally, but patch 13 will be including a ton of changes to not just siege mode, but also character customization. And if you want to see all of that, I will be covering it on this channel as usual. The Warhammer Skulls event is also rapidly approaching. This is the biggest Warhammer video game event where they reveal some of the most major upcoming games and content drops for existing titles. Last year, Warhammer Skulls gave us a glimpse of Space Marine 2 Siege mode prior to its official release, so this year we will probably see some huge reveals on patch 14 and beyond. Not to mention major upcoming titles like Total War Warhammer 40k, Dawn of War 4, and potentially even Space Marine 3. Though Space Marine 3 is far less likely as it's on a 4-year dev cycle and will not be releasing until like 2029 at the earliest, so it's probably a little too early to see major info on that. When it comes to content in patch 13, however, I'm going to talk a bit further about the 3 new heroic weapons coming in this patch. We actually know of 4 coming out in total, and a little bit of a hint on the heroic perk effects they have as well. The first we know for sure is coming in patch 13 is a new heroic chainsword variant. This was in the March Media update posted it, and has a pretty unique skin attached to it, looks very much like a White Stars option. Now, we don't know what the heroic perk effect will be or even what defense type this is going to have, but the general expectation about these weapons is that we will be getting a block variant, since so far in Space Marine 2 there have been 0 instances of a heroic block weapon at all. I think that part of this is because block weapons are just hard to use for most players, since parrying stagger is easier to pull off fresh out of the box, and Saber didn't want their brand new lineup of heroic weapons launching with their anniversary update to be too difficult to use for a major portion of the new players in the game. But the big thing I want to mention here is that we have a leaked image of the heroic perk effect icon, which has a 3 on it, which could be indicating a triple block Adrenaline Surge charge up option. If you're unaware of what an Adrenaline Surge charge even is, this is the unique mechanic for block weapons like restore charges for bonus melee damage on your next hit every perfect block up to a maximum of 2, and having an option to store a third could dramatically increase your weapon damage in total. Though I should mention this is actually how block weapons functioned upon their initial rework, and they lowered the maximum charges to 2, as most enemies don't actually have a 3 melee attack chain in the game. But I'm curious what you guys think of this, or if you even want a block chainsword variant at all. The chainsword has kind of fallen off a bit compared to other melee options like the power axe, so hopefully that's getting a buff of some kind. And speaking of the power axe, one of the upcoming heroic weapons is a heroic power axe. This is one players have been asking for a while now. The power axe is one of the most entertaining weapons in Space Marine 2 currently, and also one of the only post-launch melee weapons that added to the game. Every other melee weapon at this point already has a heroic variant, and in some cases, like the combat knife, they actually have 2. So a heroic power axe is long overdue. As for what the hell this thing actually does, though, I've mentioned many times previously that I personally want a frost axe. You already have slow effects like burns in the game, but the heroic perk icon that was data mined we have for this looks more like something related to your overhead attack. There are multiple ones in attack perks in the power axe tree already, and it's incorporated with the power back step as well, so this would make sense as a perk effect. If it's just something gimmicky like regenerating armor after a post, that would be pretty strong, but I would want something a bit more interesting. I'm sure most Space Marine people will be freeze. The next heroic weapon is a heroic plasma pistol. This is one I've talked about compared to the rate of fire relic variant before, because as it currently stands, the rate of fire plasma is just leagues above the other variants, but the image of the upcoming heroic perk effect actually looks related to either a cooldown or charge reduction. There are a lot of ways you could take this, but just based off the image, we might be getting something along the lines of ramping charge speed, more smoother shots, or an instant cooldown. Depending on the base stats of the weapon, this could be really powerful and has something along those lines. We'll have to wait until the official patch, though I think they have done a pretty good job with the higher secondary weapons before, so my hopes are pretty high. The final weapon we know is getting a new heroic variant, though not necessarily in this patch, is the Thunderhammer. The Thunderhammer is a pretty top tier weapon for a lot of content in Space Marine 2 at the moment, so a new heroic option should be a great addition. It's also one of the most popular weapons, and even though its current heroic fencing variant dispenses shock areas as one of the weaker heroics in the game, it is still a fan favorite as well, and the heroic perk effect image we have for this one looks related to either your ground slam or aftershock, and these are the 2 strongest attacks attacks on the Thunderhammer currently anyways, so anything buffing these up would be a welcome perk effect. So I have to say that I am really hoping this thing is a block weapon variant, because the Thunderhammer in particular really benefits from the staggering attacks of block charges with things like Aftershock, and without these, it can be prone to being interrupted by enemy attacks, especially on classes like Bulwark that don't have a jump attack dash to animation cancel. But that is pretty much everything we know about the rogues so far, but there's also a new equipment coming in patch 13. All we know is that this looks similar to a new injector. Some people think this will be for PvP, as there are currently injector voice lines found from the Heretics Astartes that are not available at all in the operations mode. Space Marine 1 did have a combat stimulant which can boost your damage. We already have a sanctified wrath reliquary, so this is a damage boost. It might be a bit redundant, but let me know what you guys want to see. Somebody told me this might be an attack speed increase or range damage buff, which could be a unique addition, but I'm curious what else you guys have come up with. But not only are we getting a new equipment, we're also getting a new weapon as well. Focus mentioned ages ago this would be a firearm, and we also have data mines I talked about a little bit before regarding a secondary automatic bolter SMG, which if anything like the Storm Bolter available in the Astartes Overhaul mod, could be an incredible tool for both the Bulwark and Assault to rapidly recover their contested health. One of the biggest downsides of only having a secondary is that a lot of the best contested health recovery in the game comes from primary weapons. At the moment, the Plasma Pistol ranks clean prestige of recovery on secondaries, and maybe this will shake things up. Personally, I want something more like a Crab Pistol though, since we just got the Tech Ring class in patch 12. I feel this would be a far more unique weapon than a new Bolter, but Storm Bolters are very popular, so I wouldn't be too disappointed if that's what it winds up being. And speaking of the Tech Ring, this brings me to new cosmetics in patch 13. We are getting a brand new Iron Hand Chapter Pack that will include Iron Hand Champion skin. Chapter packs differ from the standard cosmetic and champion packs as they combine both the successor chapters with a champion skin as well. We haven't had one of these since year 1, and this will contain 4 chapters that we know to the Iron Hands, the Sons of Medusa, Brazen Claws, Red Talons, and Iron Lord. The champion skin was also previously leaked to have cards for the tactical as well, so you should be able to rep the Iron Hands on multiple classes as usual. Now, we also had some images released previously during the March community post of the new cosmetics coming independent of the chapter pack. We haven't had anything major for cosmetics added to the Rogue store since like patch 11 in November of last year. There were leaks for not only a Victory Scarred Bulwark skin like we saw in Space Marine 2's campaign, but also the potential for a Heresy Black Templar helmet, which would probably go on multiple classes. I assume all of these new armor parts will be available in the Rogue store for patch 13 in the reveals section. Saber did say they're adding a brand new customization feature as well, which we have no idea what it will be about. Somehow linked to the progression update in patch 13. I'm curious what you guys think the new customization feature will be, but on the note of other cosmetics, I want to talk a bit about the Redacted Champion pack that is also coming. Focus has mentioned that Deathwatch cosmetics are coming for ages in Space Marine 2. This has been a highly requested option in the game since launch, and that's not all that surprising since the campaign's opening mission is a Deathwatch build team saying it's Deathwatching time, which means you watch their entire team die to a group of Formagons and Termagons. Deathwatch cosmetics for Tech Marine are already confirmed to be getting expansions in patch 13, but I also think the Redacted Champion pack will be a Deathwatch pack. It just makes the most sense to me. Deathwatch are pretty much the Task Force 141 of Warhammer 40k, and definitely deserve a champion skin of their own. I've seen some speculation that this might be for Blood Ravens, with the outfit being hidden because of Dawn of War 4 not being fully revealed yet, or even Grey Knights, but as far as Grey Knights go, I don't think this is ever going to happen in Space Marine 2. Focus already said they don't plan on adding Psyker powers to the game, so Librarians are off the table for now, and every single Grey Knight is a Psyker on top of using more unique weaponry than you can find in regular Primaris, so it really doesn't make a lot of sense to just give a regular-ass Primaris an entire Grey Knight fit. So let me know what you guys think the Redacted Champion pack is going to be, and what cosmetics you'd like to see the most. As far as other current events for Space Marine 2 are concerned, I also want to talk about the DLC voice pack controversy resolution. This was the biggest upset in the games community really since launch. The voice pack was already met with some serious backlash upon its announcement as being separate from the Season Pass, and when it released as a subpar quality DLC that had multiple voice lines intentionally reverting to their original lines in the middle of a mission, people were already prepared to be pissed. As someone who's been playing this game religiously since launch, I have never seen the community come out and pure disdain over anything in this game quite like a DLC voice pack. Focus kind of dug their heels in during the initial backlash and had some ridiculous takes like saying a DLC with all voices would cost like $20 to $25, which is close to or more than the price of some campaign game expansions in their entirety. Eventually, the backlash got so overwhelming that Focus and Saber caved and came out with a gigantic apology saying they'd be giving refunds to everyone and making the DLC voice pack free content from now on. They further expanded upon this in the March community post, and the DLC is now officially delisted as purchasable content, and a lot of refunds have already been given out. So if you've not received yours, they did say on different platforms it will take different amounts of time, so give it a little bit. I am very curious to see how this controversy affects the next DLC voice pack. They already mentioned before if they plan to do more of these in the future,
There goes
on
one.
top of there being data mines months ago for both White Scars and Raven Guard heads. But given the response to this one, I'm not even convinced I'll want to move forward with the voice
Hey!
pack at all. This was a pretty blatant attempt at nickel and diming Space Marine 2's player base, so I'm happy the community made its voice heard and just told Focus, no, we don't want $5 half-assed DLCs in the game. And this will probably have major implications for Space Marine 3 as well, because I have a sneaking suspicion that Space Marine 3 will have far more aggressive monetization. Saber was not planning on Space Marine 2 being as popular as it was. They had a huge influx of money thanks to this game, and even though Saber is usually working on other games, Space Marine 2 definitely became a priority for them, which is why the Year 2 roadmap was far more substantial than Year 1. But this could mean that the future monetization will be more consumer friendly than it would have been otherwise. Usually when it comes to these things, I always take the side of the consumer if a product is egregiously bad, but credit where credit is due to Saber, making the entire pack free was pretty much
Oh, I
the
have
best
two.
possible resolution given the situation. This brings me to the final thing I want to talk about, which is regarding the overall future of Space Marine 2. There is a new roadmap in the works, like I mentioned previously, which will apparently have some pretty major changes. Patch 13 is already confirmed to be having some major siege mode reworks for
Damn,
shorter and
both
more
of them are
intense
bad.
games, since the only real mentions of siege mode on the Year 2 roadmap previously were for patch 15 with a new map. I do wonder if we'll also be getting this new siege mode map early, because I don't think a siege mode rework is going to be remotely as good if we're stuck on the same map we've been on for nearly a year and then have to wait multiple extra months for a single new map. The remainder of the current roadmap looks a little bit lackluster compared to the first half of Year 2 in my opinion anyways, so I have a suspicion that we might be getting an extension or some of the stuff in the updated roadmap. I've talked previously about the potential for a Year 3 in Space Marine 2. We already know that every weapon in the game is supposed to get 2 heroic variants eventually, and there is simply no time for that on the remaining roadmap, especially for getting new weapons added as well. Recently, the parent company of Saber Interactive, Pull Up Entertainment, released their earnings report for 2025, and in the year of 2025, the major profit driver for their company was their backlog of games, spearheaded by Space Marine 2. And like I mentioned previously, Space Marine 3 is not expected to be released until 2029 at the earliest, and if you look at Saber's other games that are far less successful than Space Marine 2, like World War Z, that game is still receiving updates to this day. So even if we don't get a Year 3 roadmap for Space Marine 2, we're pretty much guaranteed to be getting more updates of some kind, though considering that Year 2 has had more average players and much—
I think people are still a little out of touch with how much genuinely needs to go wrong in a certain time period for studios to fully decide to shut something down. I still think people are genuinely out of touch with how popular the hobby actually is. In that they'll see a Steam chart or a Steam number be really, really, you know, air quote low, not realizing that there's still likely more people on that game than they ever realized that are more than enough to keep the lights on, which is why they keep getting updates. That's why I kind of roll my eyes and get a little annoyed whenever all the hit pieces come out on this game. Because all of those hit pieces are like basically centered around one Steam number. Despite the fact that this game is noticeably more popular on console than it is on Steam. This is mostly done. I will be right back.
much higher peaks than the majority of Year 1 did, and the game is now available on PSN Plus and Xbox Game Pass, I have a feeling that Saber is planning something major. Let me know if you think we're getting a Year 3 though. I've seen a shocking amount of people say this game is dead or we're not getting a Year 3, and I have no idea where we were getting this info from, because it's definitely not from the actual content release schedule for the game that is pretty much just strictly better than the Year 1 plan was, with more content and expansions to existing content that we saw originally. And the player base and content drops in Year 1 were still enough for Focus and Saber to greenlight an entire Year 2 plan, and Space Marine 2 just passed 12 million unique players as well, so the future of the game's content drop does seem pretty bright, and it also just makes financial sense for Focus and Saber to continue support. But that is pretty much everything I want
this
to
would
talk
have been
about in
so
this video.
fucking
Patch 13
handy
is
when I
looking
had
great
to go
already.
through
We can
this
even
run.
talk about the new boss that is coming as well, and there's probably even more we expect on the way as well, so tell me what you're excited to see most. I will be covering everything that's coming out with the new patch during the potential PTS and the official release. You can find that all on this channel as usual. And if you like content like this, subscribe for more. And if you want to catch me live to ask me questions about the game or just come hang out, you can find me here on YouTube or on Twitch with a link in the video description alongside a link to my community Discord. And as always, thank you for watching, take it easy, bye.
Okay, so it seems that recently there's been...
Alright, time to check.
Hello.
Oh, you are in here. Let's do a room check. How goes it?
Yeah. Okay.
Something I just saw on their account on Twitter, because I wasn't aware it was a thing, because I don't always read everything. Apparently they made a change in TFD to Deslin, our favorite ignored vendor, where now he basically sells all of the purple weapons and all of the blue weapons. Specifically for people that still need them for mastery ranks. Which is actually a fucking W addition / change. Despite the fact that I already went through all the fucking nonsense of farming them naturally at their actual sources. But still, I think it's a good thing. It's a nice little change. Not that mastery rank means anything.
Yeah, fidelity. Shitters will be shitters.
Mm-hmm. Also, if at any point you want to get back into the run, just let me know, because I'm not really doing anything. I was watching people finally put out their videos on VS, so I was seeing some stuff and like looking around at what other people were doing. I'm trying to like go for a few things now as a result to tack onto mine. I didn't realize they added fucking 2 more trigger modules to the latest fucking dungeon. Oh god, the audio right now.
a little bit of backlash, I guess, coming from the whole Mugen apology. Now, if you guys don't know, yesterday we covered the fact that Mugen actually apologized for a lot of stuff and ended up deleting his original video on the Sykkuno situation that obviously he worked on, you know, a little bit before the actual information came out, and worked with Himamo to make the video essentially. And, you know, he admits a lot of stuff. He admits the fact that, you know, he probably shouldn't have used the word predator and everything like that, and you know, so much. And the one thing that people were like really concerned about, though, which he didn't really address in the video, was Powder, right? And Powder was obviously someone who was you know, calling him out and stuff, you know, based on a lot of his actions, and he ended up going crushing out on her completely, which I think a lot of people agreed was completely uncalled for. No matter what you think of Powder, no matter what you think of anything in this situation, it was just a bit weird, right? And I think a lot of people were very, very unhappy with that. This is the tweet, by the way. If you guys don't remember, it obviously said, can you criticize him for cheating? Absolutely, but I had no viewers whatsoever, and became desperate after trying everything to be relevant, so I chose to appeal to people who hate my gender in order to pay my rent. Am I gonna flip on a serial cheater who had sex with women without telling them they'd be homewreckers? Of course not. Morals are an obstacle to my income. Mugen was never really a reliable narrator, so when his video eventually comes out about me being cancelled by my audience for secretly having dated a black guy, even though I keep saying I can't stand minorities, please don't trust him. Also, English is my first language, and I have no idea that predator can mean a personal organization that uses weaker people for their own advantage, but it's okay, my audience gobbles up anything I say. Dumbass simps Lamau. So yeah, obviously Ro got pretty mad at that, and I think it was due to the fact of Powder saying something along the lines of like, he's not a reliable narrator, and I think that kind of set him off, and he ended up, yeah, writing that whole thing, which of course a lot of people were like, that's a bit weird, right? Obviously the whole, you know, essentially saying that she was going to get outed for dating a black guy, and she's going to get cancelled by her own community for saying for that happening, right? Which of course is just so weird to kind of, you know, fantasize about that in your head, right? I just don't think that's a normal thing that people do. You know, I don't think I've ever thought about Powder dating a black guy before. I can't say that's ever been something that's come up in my mind, you know, ever, or you know, for anyone actually, regardless of who it is, right? I don't think I've ever thought of maybe they're dating a black guy. Yeah, 100%, right? I just think it's weird, right? And of course, Powder, you know, responded to that saying, damn, you're like really mad, lol. Also, stop fetishizing me in a mixed race relationship, you fuckwad. Gross behavior. And yeah, some people as well, like Deme, saying, oh my god, Mugen, take a step back. What she said wasn't even unreasonable or a personal attack. You rage baited yourself in this one, right? And so many people were just like, yo, what the hell? Like, this is so weird, right? But yeah, obviously, you know, since then, the whole apology videos come out where, you know, as I said, he's taken down the original video, and he's going to take down the apology video as well, you know, in 7 days time or whatever. But yeah, Powder isn't mentioned once throughout it, which I thought was a bit weird considering how much of a generational crash out this was. And Powder actually commented on this saying, Mugen wouldn't dare to apologize to anyone who isn't politically aligned with him, even if it's the right thing to do. Which, yeah, I think that's true, right? You know, obviously, you know, Mugen isn't politically aligned with Powder, which is okay, right? You know, not everybody has to be politically aligned the same way, but you could at least apologize to them. But of course, he thinks, oh, that's going to make me look bad. People are going to hate me because I apologize to Powder. Well, in actual fact, it is the right thing to do, because you literally crashed out on her very, very hard. And, you know, she wants an apology, right? But of course that won't happen, right? And that's what she's saying there. Mugen wouldn't dare to apologize. You know, it's because he isn't actually sorry about anything. He's gonna damage control to save his own ass. That he's almost as bad as the woman he defended, honestly. Gospel slanderer. You've carried yourself well, Powder, saying, I respect all women's opinions, except the ones that I don't agree with them. Tips Fedora. So as if we could actually call that apology to anyone other than his own ego and possibly his wallet. Saying, it's wild to me though, the response to you saying, hey, Sykkuno didn't do anything to me was, you suck, you know, BBC said, and for it to be a lie, like, damn, guess I was right with the unreliable narrator claim. If you're gonna make stuff up and insult people now, which I do think is true, right? you know, the original post that Powder was talking about here, essentially was saying like, hey, can you criticize her for cheating? But she was essentially kind of explaining her side of things, because Powder got DM'd by Sykkuno, right? And apparently they played games together or something for like 3 hours. But she was kind of giving her own side of the situation, saying, you know, she never felt manipulated. Saying, you know, he was a huge flirt, and, you know, she was aware of the power dynamic, but he was just friendly, right? And of course, for some reason that warranted that crash out. I don't know why. Again, I thought it was pretty insane, because she was sharing her own side of the story, right? And I think that maybe, you know, he thought that with all the other women coming out about, you know, stuff where he has gone, you know, more than just friends, maybe he thought that she was trying to like poison the well or something. But, you know, she's sharing her own experience. She is also someone who has had an experience with Sykkuno. This is someone that, you know, Mugen was saying, for example, he wanted more people to come out about their experiences with him. And yeah, you know, sometimes you're going to have some positive experiences and some ones where he's actually been somewhat normal, right? So again, obviously, whenever it's not one that, you know, is normal, you know, that's all fine and good. But whenever you have a normal experience with Sykkuno, you know, oh well, you know, you actually are dating a black guy and you're going to get exposed for it soon, right? I thought it's crazy. And yeah, you know, a lot of people have been calling this out in terms of the kind of apology, because she was never apologized for this, because yeah, of course she's saying like she wouldn't dare he wouldn't dare to. And a lot of people have been talking about this as well over on the Yeet post, saying Powder ponders where her apology for Mugen is after he dropped an apology video on his Sykkuno coverage. And yeah, saying dude is pathetic, and saying F-boy with a girlfriend played some F-girls, and F-girls are mad because they got played. Grasping at straws to point out a 50-year age gap and love bombing. Everyone in this doc is an adult. And then Mugen said, nice rage bait, here's some engagement so that you can get $5 from Twitter to pay rent. Which is, yeah, pretty funny. Said she's literally an Indian who grows with an alt-right with a pedo avatar. Right, brilliant. Said, ain't gonna happen, lol. Mugen would never, after the crash out he did, never mind his clear bias against Powder. Don't think he likes her, lol. The Mugen's head is way too far up his own ass to ever apologize for his mental breakdown of a response to Powder's perfectly reasonable take on his video and the false narrative it tried to push. Wasn't Mugen friends with Tectone until the day that he lost his court case? What political power was Mugen even on? You think Mugen's gonna apologize to the right winger? That's basically a humiliation ritual to him. He's never mentioning Powder again, which, yeah, it might be the case. You never know. Saying anything to save face, but Mugen still had a grudge. Powder cut deep indeed. And yeah, I think like the thing is, right, whenever we were looking at the Sykkuno apology video, you know, the whole thing where he apologizes for making the video and what he said and stuff, a lot of the comments weren't even like, oh hey man, you missed out this part about Sykkuno. Most of the comments were like, hey, you missed out Powder, right? Like everyone is like, hey, what about the Powder thing? Like that was kind of weird. Like, are you gonna talk about that one? And again, it was so funny to see, because, you know, there's so many people behind her and whatever, you know, asking him, hey, where's the Powder apology? Which I thought was quite funny, considering that, you know, Powder is, you know, obviously involved in the situation somewhat, in a sense that she had talked to Sykkuno one time, but you know, the main guy, Sykkuno, was talked about probably less within a video apologizing towards him, and instead, of course, Powder was mentioned more, which I thought was quite funny. But, you know, that's good, because at least, you know, people could understand that there was that kind of missing there. There was that apology to Powder that was missing, and hopefully she does get it. But as I said, I don't think it's very likely. But, you know, a lot of people have been pointing that out, and obviously Powder has been calling that out over on Twitter lately. So.
Well, fellas, I'm not trying to hit you with any doom and gloom right now, but I'm gonna be honest, Bungie, you make it too easy. Destiny 2's re-release of a botched Iron Banner is embarrassing. Not my words, Paul's words, but let's see what Paul has to say. At this point, it's well known that Destiny 2 is in dire straits, given a falling player count after a long delay for its mid-season update, which is not even going to be some huge new content addition itself. But now, they are shooting themselves in both feet, and this is frankly just becoming embarrassing. Destiny 2's souped-up PvP mode, Iron Banner, has been put on ice for 6 months for reasons that have never really been clear, other than there aren't enough people working on this game anymore. Yeah, we honestly got no... Actually, I don't even think Bungie really announced that they were not bringing us Iron Banner. I think they just kept like going, all right, is it launching this week? Is it launching this week? And then by like the 6th week, Bungie finally came out. I was like, no, that's gonna give us another month or two. But now it's back and it's fumbled out of the gates, revealing not just problems, but problems that are not going to be fixed for another 2 months. Unbelievable. Among them, the main reason players showed up to Iron Banner at all for this new round was to get to the new auto rifle. But drop rates of that rifle, especially compared to a lot of armor, are poor. This is acknowledged by Bungie 2 days after the event's launch, but they say they are not going to fix this until June. That's like really the only reason to play Iron Banner right now is with the auto rifle. Similarly, you cannot equip Iron Banner ornaments to your current armor to get the reputation bonuses like you always could. This means you need an entire set of actual baseline Iron Banner to play with, which has not been the case for years. This will be fixed in a future event. So
Bro.
what happened since the last time Iron Banner was here? Which, keep in mind, you could use ornaments, Iron Banner ornaments on your normal armor pieces and get extra rep gains. And this has been a thing now for years. So what has happened since the last Iron Banner and this Iron Banner? Some results in ornaments not working. Brother, marathon happened? Hold on, no. You just saying marathon happened. I get that. All right. That would indicate that the ornaments should still work as intended, but have no changes. But now it's somehow magically bugged. Past that, not bugged necessarily, but more delays include return of finite impact. And the fact that after 6 months, there is no new armor set. And once again, one will not arrive until June, along with cured weapons, which should have already been here. I really have no words at this point. Destiny may be known for moving slowly when it comes to fixes and updates much of the time, and there's this whole seemingly easy fixes that take longer than you think aspect of game development. But if you cannot flip a switch and immediately increase drop rates of a single weapon when there are still a full 5 days left in an event, what are we even doing? Why does this decrepit game even still exist? This got to a point where changing or fixing literally anything feels like turning an aircraft carrier around, and it's unacceptable for a live service game, particularly a live game where there are yawning months-long gaps between content releases. Now, Iron Banner returning was supposed to be a layup. Instead, all the balls are deflated and one of the hoops has fallen over. Paul, I gotta say, man, I like your rap. You know what I'm saying? Like Paul be painting that picture. He's like, show us back how pissed we are. Look, if you thought we had content droughts before, brother, ain't nothing got anything on this. Let me like Destiny 2 is no man's land, okay? And what's so difficult for myself is we actually put up videos from Destiny 2 and we do still play. Okay, so we play maybe like once a week or so at best. And there's actually a number of you that do come by and watch the videos. And I can feel you. You know, you're wanting the Destiny wants something to grab onto and hope that maybe Bungie's gonna give us. Now, everything is getting passed on to June. I mean, every time Bungie opens their mouth, they're like, don't worry, June is coming. You know, like winter is coming, okay? June is coming, and it's going to fix all of your woes and problems. The skeptic in me thinks that June might roll around, and we there's no debating this. Destiny is at a point where the more...
I heard VTuber stuff. Wait, elaborate.
Like everybody's bad at sex, you know?
I haven't deep dove into that yet, but I did see, like, okay, so fuck. Oh, I should know more about it because I was watching Kirsha yesterday when she saw everything that happened with that, and that person on that account is already like a problem character as it is, kind of a scumbag. And something happened where another guy with like a man using a bear cloak VTuber avatar outed some stuff that was going on behind the scenes that I think were attributed to the Vex Milk person. And I think everybody that saw that video lost their fucking minds. And they've been going like scorched earth on this person all over again. And this is also a person that apparently had a lot to do with Rev and Straub getting kicked out of Advanced GG, which was already Strike 1 and Strike 2, as far as like a lot of people were concerned. Advanced GG actually has fallen off of a cliff ever since they made that decision to like get rid of Rev and Straub. Yeah, they lost like yeah, they've lost quite a bit actually, and their reputation is like completely tarnished now. All over fucking politics, which is brutal. Essentially, the long and short of that one is that people just like wanted to cancel Rev and Straub because they wouldn't say the line, and that was literally it. Thankfully, they are both doing perfectly fine without Advanced GG, and Advanced GG has ended up being the ones that now are on their like back foot.
I said again, you're gonna, I heard you come on that back foot.
Huh?
Shit, Advanced GG on that back foot. You said before that.
Like no, that Rev and Straub are doing just fine, despite the fact that they lost that sponsorship. So like they really didn't lose anything out of that. Like yeah, they lost a revenue stream, but they're both like all the better for it now. Like as far as like reputation and stuff like that.
I need help. Now.
But the Vexmelt thing I do need to like dig into quite a bit, but I saw Kirsha was on Twitter yesterday going full fucking scorched earth on this guy, like tagged him and everything.
Read the post.
Yes. And again, Kirsha does kind of have an out to feel a certain kind of way whenever this stuff happens, because she is typically one of the main targets of these like these quiet moves behind the scenes that like effectively fuck people over.
People on the FTG Twitter, they're just roasting them.
Yeah, it's definitely a how the mighty have fallen kind of situation for them.
Hey, Chunks. Morning.
But yeah, that's something I can circle back to you like later when I have more context.
Right now. Damn. This dude got fired from his actual IRL job.
Right.
I had a big time creator. That one was called Spawn. That's fucked up. Fuck this bitch. Yeah, that's what Twitter people do all the time.
Lots of comments.
A lot of comments, close their Twitter account, 50 guys.
God damn, that's a lot of ice shackles.
Version of the game is lapping it, and Marathon is clearly the top priority at Bungie despite not performing all that great stuff. If this is how Destiny is going to be going forward, even for the most basic of issues, maybe it's time to just ice the whole thing. Oh, so I stopped. Well, look, I've offered my solution, and nobody wants it. Every time I say it, every time there's so many of you like, you know what, you know what good and for Bungie Destiny. Think of this. Hold on. I mentioned it before. Catching classics out. Modern day FPS, high field of view. OG drop rates. This is way too limited. Let me tell you something. Y'all talk shit. You know how many people would actually play ETD Classics? There's a lot of PC players that never played Destiny 1. I'm telling you. It would probably do pretty good. Listen, this doesn't fix Destiny 2's bugs. And I honestly have... I'm actually baffled right now. Like, when Bungie said we'll have more to share from June, I didn't even think they knew. You know what I mean? I was like, that's a big gap. Telling me you're not going to be doing much of anything with us from now until then. You know what I mean? Not even the squads here lately have just, they've been weak sauce, man. I mean, they just don't have really anything of value to share with the week. The reason why, because I think internally, Bungie's going through a lot right now. Let's Marathon was supposed to come out last September. Hell, scratch it. Marathon was supposed to come out a year before last September. Okay? It did. Bungie was also incubating other projects, including Double Pairs. And think of the things that cascading of events that occurred. Destiny 2 finally goes out. It was the best received, highest rating expansion Bungie has ever given us. What followed that? 5 weeks later. Not even. Huge wave layoffs and departures. Including the likes of Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy, who were working on whatever Destiny Payback is, which some have claimed could have been a Destiny 3, could have been a Destiny Rising, could have been anything. Whatever the case was, you knew when you saw Luke and you saw Mark, they represented something good was being worked on. Then after that, you had Marathon, creative director, actually, I think Christopher Barrett had already departed, but there was that lawsuit going on with them. And anyways, they had to switch to Ziegler, and then there was just a lot of turmoil with the direction of Marathon. And those delays happened because, you know, obviously Ziegler's vision was much different. And I'm okay with Ziegler's vision on that. I'm not saying that Ziegler didn't happen like Marathon. Regardless, Marathon was supposed to be out way before when it came out. And Gummy Bears and Destiny Payback could have been something, but that Gummy Bears got removed. And then you had the impairment that Sony mentioned. It was the last earnings call they mentioned, which is not a good sign. It's not a good sign. So let me actually Google when the next Sony earnings call. May 8th, 2026. I think that's really going to tell us a lot. We're going to see what Sony has to say about Bungie and Marathon's line, especially. Is there going to be any more impairments? Is anything going to dip into goodwill? That's the one that hurt. There's also, I think I don't know if it's entirely true, but there's some rumors that the final payout will finalize in June, and so we could be seeing a bunch of departures. I have no idea. I do know that there is a swirling storm around the month of June that we are heading towards, and I don't know what that means. The gaming side, even though I enjoy Marathon, I think Marathon it's captivated those that have played it, and I think it's trying to find its place amongst its own community. Let's just be real. Marathon is not Destiny, and I don't think Marathon will ever have the same success as Destiny. And I know some of you are going to go, well, no shit, bro. You may say no shit, but internally, I wonder if Bungie and Sony will hold it up. That's Sony. Now, personally, I'll play Marathon. I was always going to probably play Marathon. Granted, if it was going to be dog shit, we were going to dunk on it. And quite frankly, the alpha last year was... And everybody's like, oh, it was an alpha. No, that was dope. The improvements they made are extremely noticeable, and I'm glad they made these improvements, and I think the delay was actually good for the overall health of the game. But I don't think Marathon is ever going to...
Oh my god.
...that Destiny reached. And my concern now is that because it's not bringing in the revenue that they were hoping it was going to bring in, I'm worried that the whole ship is going to go down. The whole damn thing. Now, what does that mean? What is the whole ship going? Like, what does that really mean for Bungie? Well, it really probably just means that they're going to surrender all control to Sony. And that's already been happening. Right? Surrender all control to
It's gonna be so much worse than that, buddy.
And to be quite honest with you, it's not that I don't want Bungie to have autonomy. I also think that Bungie is great at being the thing. Great at, you know, creating these stories and these universes, and I think they're great at that. I think where they stumble is in the execution side of things. I think they were at their best when they had the help of other studios. Think like Vicarious Visions when they were with Activision. I think Sony, if Sony wanted to, they could bridge that execution. But that's a big if. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Guys, Concord, Bungie did not create Concord. I don't know why where y'all are getting that from. And
Because it was former devs that changed to a different team.
There's some Concord developers out there listening to this right now. If you ever come by the stream, you probably hate my ass. But
don't listen to it. Just read the replies
Okay.
that this girl went through with this guy. It's like, for some reason, the last reply she did, she just outright just talked shit about the guy's mom. Like, no reason. It's like unprovoked. Like, he was trying to have a civilized conversation, and she got butthurt and just went to talk shit about his mom. I remember I got pee and baby just walked out to. Hey. Okay. I forgot to get a spoon. Damn it. Yep, get back.
Hmm? Yeah, it looks like this guy's getting ratioed by pretty much everybody in here.
Oh, yeah. They seem like you ever try to have a civilized conversation with them.
You can't talk to these people. Ever. Like, that's the mistake.
Yeah, you read the one with Bones Jangle?
Bones Jangle.
I think I linked that one to you directly.
Did you?
Yeah, I think you can click that post. I think it should immediately pull up it. Well, I can fucking hold on.
I'm still here.
I get it for you. Hold on.
Yeah, because I don't see that name. Oh, here it is. What, do you listen to yourself before you put this out there?
Yes. There's a thread in there. She talked to her at the very end. I wasn't expecting to read what she typed.
Got it. How come I do indeed? Yeah, it's just not.
It's like he just proved, like you just proved his point.
Yes, and people do this shit all the time. Literally all the time. This is how far apart they are and how far removed and how tone deaf they are at all times. With everything. It's actually insane that these people are just out there. They exist. And they have influence over things that actually matter. Like voting. That's why you hear people say that all the time, by the way. Whenever you see these people like this that are like, you wouldn't believe they were real until you see it with your own eyes. And then you always have somebody following up. These people vote, by the way. That's why they say that. Like, there's a thing I saw yesterday on Kirsch's stream, where they found out about a thing going on with homeless people, where they were getting legally taxpayer funded surgeries, whatever, for transitioning for like trans people and stuff like that. Homeless people, they could just go places in Cali where they could get surgeries done to affirm their identities, funded by taxpayers. They had to pay nothing. All they had to do was just show up and ask.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. And they had these people on camera, like, just acknowledging and like just basically outing it because they had received those benefits without realizing, like, you know, how fucked that is. And it makes you wonder about other shit that might be happening elsewhere that we don't know about yet. Because that's always the scary thing, is when you find out about something that is like, wait, this should not be happening, it immediately makes you question, wait, well, what else don't we know about? This is why, like, getting caught in a lie is such a big deal, even if it's a small one. Because, like, if you lie about something small and minor, who's to say you're not going to lie about something major? Also, I'm pretty sure that Vexmilk person is a dude. I don't know if I mentioned that. Because I see some people in here talking about it like it's a female. I'm pretty sure it's a dude.
I just don't how you know what the fuck they were. Piece of shit right now is what they are.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of people in Kirsch's thread talking about that they tried to reach out for comment directly from this person and immediately got blocked.
The anteater person?
No, the Vexmilk person.
Oh yeah, of course they are. They're gonna block the fuck out of them. They're not about to have no reasonable conversation. They're about to just do what they always do. Keep their comments locked and come back when they think the heat's gone.
Yeah, this is a good post right here. I'll put this in yours. For people who lose the plot here. Again, they never feel the need to hide this, by the way. That's always going to be the thing that should, like, do them in. That never does.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yep. fuck you, fuck guys, fuck your God, fuck your butt. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, we say it all the time, man. We cannot talk to these people. We try. We consistently try to like build a bridge or see where the disconnect is or whatever. It cannot happen ever. They do not want to speak to anybody. They do not want to see reason. They don't want to learn anything. It's just scorched earth at all times. They wear it on their sleeves. And then they accuse everybody else of doing the very things that they're doing all the time. It's infuriating.
When the actual backlash happens, they play victim, hide their account, come back like a couple weeks.
Yes. I think the most egregious thing that people have done a better job of calling out now is that essentially they always cite something they don't believe in that they know you do believe in as a way to try to basically handcuff you out of a conversation or a position. They'll throw it in your face and cite it, knowing full well they have no fucking belief or faith or anything in the thing that they're citing all the time. People do this with religion a lot, actually. Or people that bend rules, like with the fraud stuff. They will typically end up being people, the first people to cite stuff from the Constitution, knowing full well that everything that they're doing legally works against the Constitution.
Investigative journalism. I'm gonna tell you now, someone's gonna do it on purpose and go against that law just so they can fight it in court.
Which one?
What you sent me about the investigative journalism?
Oh, the Nick Shirley one?
Yeah.
I believe that passed, by the way.
Someone's gonna purposely go against that and do it just so they can get arrested, so they can file a lawsuit.
I don't know how far that would go, but you might not be wrong.
Oh no, there's YouTubers out there that I think they're called what do you call them? Auditors. There's certain kind of auditors. You
But
got
I mean,
the ones that
but like, what would be the end goal there with something like that?
to get laws like that fucking taken away.
You think that's
Get
possible?
looked at- yeah, because that can get looked at higher courts,
Mm-hmm.
not at state level courts, federal level courts. Federal courts is where that shit will get abolished.
Depending on who sees it, like what side they're on.
And depending on what circuit court you're in, which I forgot what circuit Cali would fall under.
Yeah.
I think you got 5 circuit courts in the United States, or 4. I can't remember. That is the stupidest shit I ever heard. Like, Cali got
It's the most egregious thing. It's like you're literally putting a law to stop people from figuring out shit and finding things that you would want them to find and figure out.
That's the problem. That's the point. They don't want them to.
Yeah. But people vote for this shit.
You got people out there with time and money, and they'll go out there and fight it.
Yeah. I will be right back. I'm gonna sort out my lunch situation. And then after that, if you want to do something, let me know. I'm available. I will be right back.